Good morning, everybody. CW here. I'm doing a little bit of reloading, and I thought I'd take you along for a ride because this is something that you don't see every day. What I'm making is some 730 waters, which is a cartridge that you may not be familiar with. It's one that Gene highlighted a couple weeks ago in the Caliber Corner on the Georgia Shooting Network on a Friday night. And basically it's a improved 3030 designed in the mid 80s. And what it takes is a 3030 case. This happens to be a Federal 3030 case, and necks it down to 7mm, and then blows the shoulder out forward and also increases its diameter most of the way down the case, because the 3030 is quite tapered. And here is one that I made and fired. This one here was made out of a 3855 case. We got it upside down. What do we got it here? I can't really read it, so I know it's in focus, but I can't really read it for you. But anyway, so there's what it looks like after it's been fired. And, you know, a more conventional case with a shoulder that you're used to seeing, instead of that long sloping tapered case that is a 3030. And what it does for you is it gets you a little more ballistic superiority. It's a lighter bullet. It's tailored around 120 or 140 grain bullet. Velocity of 120 is just north of 2,700 feet per second, instead of the advertised 23, which is really closer to 22 or 2150 with 150 grain, which is the original 3030. Power is about the energy-wise is about the same, because you're talking about a lighter bullet versus a heavier bullet, but trajectory is much flatter, which means holdovers are less. It's still not going to stretch you out much past 250, because the power just drops off with the flat pointed bullets. But what it does for you is it reduces holdover, delivering the same amount of energy at the same ranges. So you're going to be a little more efficient. You're going to have more impacts on target because you don't have to hold over as far. You don't have as much bullet drop. Why it's special to me is it's the only caliber that my wife has taken a deer with, and I have the rifle that she used to take that deer with. So that's going to be my rifle for this year. And looking at the loads, I realized that I had 2 boxes of ladders set up. Ladders are various powder charges with the same bullet to see what your gun likes for a charge. You shoot a few bullets of each setting, and when you get the best accuracy, you start tailoring that load around that charge. So you, instead of going, a ladder will vary, say, a half a grain. Okay, half a grain chunks. So you'll have, let's just say 30 grains of powder. You'll do 25, or I'm sorry, 30 grains of powder. You'll do 29.5, 30, 30.5, 31, 31.5, 32. Half a grain increments adjustment. And then when you find one that your barrel likes, you can start tailoring by tenths. So let's say 31.5 was the perfect or best accurate load. You would start at 31. You do 31.1, 31.2, 31.3, 31.4, 31.5, 31.6, 31.7, 31.8, and see if there's a better one with those tenths. And then settle on a load, and then load from there. Anything changing in your load, a lot number of powder, a lot number of bullets, a different kind of brass, a different kind of primer, a different lot of primer, a different box of primers. Anything changes, you got to start over to be perfect, to be exactly what you tested it to be. And that's just reloading. That's fun reloading for a lot of people. Some people don't want to deal with that. Just buy factory ammo and be happy. This is what I like to play with. But brass for this isn't common. When you can find it, it's expensive. So making your own is the option. And you need to fire form it. So when you start out with a 30-30 case, this is what you get. A funny looking double-shouldered case. It goes right in the gun, no problem. And when you fire it, you get this to come out, which is your final loading. And here is here's a factory loaded, kind of crusty old Federal factory bullet, which was a 120 grain. Is it factory? Yeah, factory, 730 waters. Get it to focus for you. 730 waters. 120 grain flat pointed bullet. And this one's got some corrosion on it because it's been sitting around for quite a few years. So that's what I'm working on this morning. So what I'm doing here is I formed all the cases already, which is just lubing them up and running them through the sizing die, but without the stem, without the decapping stem. I previously decapped them all, and after I sized them, I annealed all the cases. So if you, as you look at these, you see they're kind of peachy colored at the top. You see it, kind of flame burned. That's annealed, and that makes the brass soft. Anytime you're reforming, it's a really good idea to anneal, because the brass gets work hardened just by firing. And then when you're reforming, you're really pushing that brass. So you can get cracks, and you can have a lot of sacrificed cases if you don't anneal. So annealing is going to save your brass, make it last a lot longer. It's going to produce more consistent neck tensions, which are going to produce better accuracy. So we have to go back and form these necks to the exact diameter that we want. And we're going to do that with a mandrel die. But you don't want to just run it through, you want to lube it. And this is a lubing method that not many people use, and it's a dry lube. There's a couple different kinds you can use. This is mica that I have out here, but here is some Imperial neck lube, dry neck lube. Molly probably, there's probably a couple of things in there. I'm not exactly sure what's in. This is dark. It looks like a ground up pencil. You don't even want to breathe near that. It's such a fine powder. It's like your powder coating. It'll go up in a puff. And you can use that the same way I'm using this mica. I just have a pile of this mica. So I'm gonna use this. And I apply it with the brush. So all these brushes back here are just sitting here. They're just different calibers. And what you do is, I've got it attached to a board so I can hold on to it. You run your neck of your case in the powder, and it sticks. See, it sticks, it clumps in there. Get a big glob in there. You just bang it off. And you leave a little bit in there. And you put it on this brush. Spin it around. And what this is going to do, it's going to do a couple things. It's going to clean out any grit that was in that case neck, which is going to save your dies. And it's going to impart some lube on the inside of that neck, but not a huge amount of it. You saw me dip it back in for a second dip. That's just to make sure I've got a little bit extra on there. Outside doesn't matter because all we're doing is the inside. Now I'm going to run it through the die off screen here, and I'm going to do a couple of these, but I will come back with the video and show you the stroke on the press and show you the die. I've showed you this die before, so it shouldn't be anything new for you. It's a Wilson, really nice product. Let's get some lube on there. Run it up in the mandrel. Forms it to the diameter you want. Wipe off the excess. And there we go, ready to go. Let's just do these 4 on screen here. Again, we're just cleaning, making sure there's no grit in there. Put a little extra on, tap it off. Run it through the die. Wipe off the excess. Put it in your loading block. The last step will be I'll clean out these primer pockets And then I will throw these back in the wash and make sure that they're just as clean as I can get them. And then I'll load them up. All right, let me move the camera around and show you the die and the press. All right, so here we are. We're going to run these on the Summit press. Works a little bit different than a normal press. The die actually moves on this one instead of the shell. So instead of bringing the shell up into the die, this brings the die down into the shell. So here's our casing all lubed up, ready to go. Just put it in the shell holder and bring it down. There's a little window here so that you can see your shell in the window, how much it's gone up the die. I could run this down farther, but I've got it set in a midsection that I can do almost all calibers without having to adjust it. So I'm just going to leave it there. Doesn't hurt anything as long as you're going over the tip of the mandrel. The mandrel is right here, and it's only sized about 3/8, half an inch. After that, it tapers down. So it's tapered to go in the case, goes in the case to form the diameter, and then begins to drop down to a smaller diameter before you pull it back out. So as long as you're going in past that, you're fine. And you can feel it on the press. There's nothing here. All that movement, there's nothing there. That's sliding in and out of the case neck. Up here, right there, if you hear that stop, that's the diameter. And you pull it back out. Again, we're not doing anything with the lube on the outside, so we just wipe it off. And there'll be a little bit of lube left on the inside, which will get cleaned off in the final step when I throw it back in the tumbler. There we go. Let's do one or two more here, because it can be like paint dry. You've already seen me do what I'm doing over here, which is putting some lube on the case. Put it in the shell holder, bring it down. So the taper is now sitting in the neck. We're going to bring it down over through. So again, here we got that back taper where it's smaller. There's nothing touching. Right there, it's touching again. Pull it out of the case, and we're done. The diameter is what we want it to be, which is going to be about 2 thousandths smaller, or in this case, what is that, 282? Yeah, 284 your bullet, so about 282 should be the diameter of the inside of that brass. About 2 thousandths friction fit. There you go. That's how I lube set up for neck sizing or resizing the necks with a Wilson neck sizing die. Is there a name on the end here? Wilson expanding mandrel. There you go. God bless everybody. CW.